All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the latest Lilypad AMA. Very excited to have you all here. I'm going to just share screen here. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the latest Lilypad AMA. We use these AMAs as a forum, for the community to come ask questions. That's what we're all here for. And so, please, I have the live chat here, so please ask any questions throughout. But if we don't have any questions at this exact moment, I'm going to jump right into a little bit of a presentation on what is Lilypad and then some updates on where the network is and what's going on. And it looks like we have another guest here, Mr. Logan. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for hosting this.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. That's what it's all about. Cool. So yeah, we always kind of go over a recap really quickly on the AMA. So the Lilypad vision is to build accessible, efficient, permissionless open compute. So using the power of crypto economics and peer-to-peer networking to create a cloud network that competes with large, centralized cloud networks and providing benefits of blockchain verification, edge, distributed edge computing, and an actual open, marketplace of compute that isn't controlled by any one big company. And so, the idea here is to, provide a place for open source AI models and other types of programs to run on an open network, not controlled by any one entity. And build out the scale of that to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of nodes around the world. So really quickly jumping into like what is Lilypad, we match demand and supply, right? So supply would be considered GPUs, processing compute power, and demand is of course end users, businesses, developers, ML researchers. There's a whole range of different types of users that are currently using Lilypad and who are looking at using Lilypad. And so the Lilypad network itself kind of consists of a few pieces. So, of course, there's the partnerships and integrations at the top. Kind of as I mentioned, a lot of different companies are either using Lilypad or working on building it into their workflow. We're also working with a lot of awesome either potential partners or current partners that can provide added levels of functionality to the stack. So, for example, privacy layers, for example, decentralized storage, for example, other types of important pieces of the kind of the compute puzzle. And so Lilypad is kind of built in a modular way where we provide a fundamental layer of compute at the bottom, and then we can build added layers on top, which really makes it quite valuable and quite fluid to be able to meet modern demands. Then, of course, there's the value layers that what we've built and or will build in the future. So we've got an API, we've got sort of like the early versions of an SDK with the Lilypad CLI. And in the future, we'll be building sort of like a SaaS product or a web UI to actually, for non-technical users, to actually leverage the Lilypad network. Think of it as like kind of like a Vercel type platform. And that would include the next piece, which is the module marketplace. So the vision here is to provide almost like a decentralized Hugging Face type situation where we make it very, very easy for developers and ML researchers to onboard a AI model of any type and then be able to just run it really quickly, really easily using Docker in a decentralized edge compute network. Of course, it's a serverless architecture, and so that's typically how these processes are run. Is pay for what you use. It's a job-based model, and so that's one of the big differentiators between Lilypad is and other types of networks like this is you don't need to like rent out a specific GPU for a specific amount of time. The Lilypad network will match what you need with the GPU provider that has it, run the computation, provide the output, save an IPFS with a verifiable hash that the output was or that the process ran, and then you're good to go. The sort of deal there is done and the payment is made and you're good to go. So the big call to action, as always, is join the incentive net onboard GPUs. We are currently sitting, I believe last time I checked was about 600 online, almost 1,000 total nodes that have joined at one point or another. So we're super excited to have all the current RPs and encouraging new RPs to join. And we really appreciate the patience of the community as this whole testnet unfolds. We've been, taking feedback really. We have really tight feedback loops with the community. Thank you so much to the Lilypad ambassadors and really the community at large that participates in our Discord and provides feedback. We have created a mechanism where the DevRel team ingests this information, filters out stuff that maybe ends up being user error or other types of weird problems, and then we're creating tickets for the engineering team to actually implement um, solutions based on feedback we get from the community. So that's happening, as quickly as possible. We don't want to rush things, and so things are being done very methodically. But yeah, we really appreciate it, and I will give you a little hint now, but there will be more information coming out. We are looking at the slashing mechanism, and we will be implementing um, some changes over as soon as possible. As the engineering team can kind of get to it among other priorities. So that's very exciting. We also mentioned yesterday in the updates RP channel that we are looking into some issues where a bunch of resource providers came and said, "Hey, we noticed that we didn't get rewards over the last 24 hours," and they did confirm, they're running proof of works, they're online, they've got Bacalao active with the right version, all the checks that we ask to run before actually saying, "Hey, I've actually got a problem." So our team is investigating that as we speak, and we will, understand what has gone on, and then we will understand if it's fair to provide some kind of compensation, and in terms of more rewards that were missed out to the affected providers. So do keep an eye out for that. That's happening right now, and again, that's all from feedback from the community. So thank you. So how to participate? There's a lot of resources, information how to do this, but really simply, download and install the Lilypad CLI. There's a bunch of prerequisites. I'll mention it in the next slide with the documentation. But yeah, spin up your node. I spun up a resource provider recently. It didn't. I mean, I'm familiar, but it probably only took me 10, 15 minutes. So to be honest, it's not a very arduous process. And then we have this awesome leaderboard. In the bottom right, you can see this is where you can actually see a map of the nodes globally. On the leaderboard tab, right now this is the metrics tab that you're able to see. On the leaderboard tab, it actually has leaderboard of all the different RPs and who's earned what. And so this is kind of like the one-stop shop, the one-stop hub for all resource providers to actually see what the rewards they've earned are, and be able to track that over time. Tons and tons of resources. Again, this is like a work in progress. We're adding resources. We're like improving these resources. So again, thanks to the community for like helping us kind of through this journey. But as I mentioned, there's the leaderboard. So in the top left, you can check that out. Search your wallet address. If you're really curious about the intricacies around the Lilybit rewards program, how are the rewards calculated? What's the slashing mechanism? Every 2 weeks, the amount of Lilybit rewards that can totally be earned by everybody on the network reduces by 10%. The idea there was to incentivize early joiners to jump on, and reward them, for being early. So that's something that we are really, really happy about. Oh, I'm looking at the chat here. It's so great to have everybody. Wow, I can't believe it. Thanks everyone for coming. Yes, GT Media, we are yeah, this is something that's in progress. Just trying to figure out, again, the intention here is to incentivize long-term participation, and incentivize community members who have been here, and make sure that they are rewarded fairly, and not farming rewards and then just leaving. And so we've taken all your feedback into consideration, and yeah, more on that soon. So big shout out to the Lilypad ambassadors. We could not do it without you guys. This has really been an awesome program we just started, where we've sort of nominated some very active Lilypad community contributors to sort of take up more of a community role in terms of answering questions, helping out other RPs. And I have to say, we are so proud of the current group. There is a rewards program that we'll be rolling out, soonish, that will actually quantify some of these contributions to be able to actually say, like, oh, I actually earned some Lilybit rewards for being part of this. This is also something that's going to be open for the open source contributions in general to the Lilypad GitHub. We're actually probably going to announce something about that today. We were just getting our issue templates and our contribution guide all sorted, so that's coming. But I had to give a huge shout out. On the right hand side, you can see 4 contributions here, all from the same Lilypad ambassador, Kabbalah Rasa, as they go by. Just incredible support. Can't thank enough. We've got the first one is a WSL native RP. So the Lilypad team currently supports the Linux version of the Lilypad resource provider, like wholeheartedly, end to end. That's something that our team has prioritized. We have not been able to prioritize the Windows implementation quite yet, as the community has probably noticed. Really, we're a small team, right? We're stretched across so many different verticals here, so many different sort of like issues that need attention right now. And so we had to sort of decide that that's going to be something that we're going to sort of open source and hand over to the community. We do have an app that our one of our teammates, Arson, has built, which does make it easier to run a Windows RP. But again, that's something that's sort of a work in progress. And so thank you for the patience of the community. We know that there have been probably more issues with the WSL versions of RPs, just because of the lack of support from our end. And so yeah, again, thanks for the community for kind of taking that up. And that's the exact kind of thing that we're aiming to reward. And so keep it up.
Yeah.
On that
Just
sorry,
sorry,
Logan.
just to interrupt on that note, about the Windows, running a resource provider with Windows, we have given the community the WSL, or basically like a version of this Windows resource provider. And what we've done is we've put some time and put some work into some Docker images that can run on Linux and Windows, or any OS for that matter. And so just to streamline things, we can support that Docker image and have anybody run that. We have that Docker image on GitHub, but there's some documentation that we will be dropping shortly, if it hasn't been dropped already.
Yeah.
So there, we're not supporting the Windows WSL version, but we figured out a much easier and a much more streamlined way to do it, and it's just makes sense for us to carry on that way.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and as Phil said here in the chat, we are writing up. We're doing like a small write up on this Docker implementation that Logan has been working on for a while. And so, thanks, Logan. We really appreciate all the work on that. We'll make sure that that's well documented and has enough information for the community to be able to pick it up. But yeah, that should hopefully be coming soon. I do see a question here about how is the workload distributed on a single worker, or will workers be united in the form of a Kubernetes cluster, for example? Yeah, so that's a great question. So Lilypad runs using the Bacalhau. I don't know if I want to call it a framework, but the Bacalhau networking mechanism that was created by Protocol Labs. And the whole reason that the Bacalhau networking mechanism was created to begin with was it was actually created by one of the original founders of Kubernetes, David Aronczyk, who's an advisor to Lilypad. And the general premise was, Kubernetes clusters were created to run, computation within a walled garden, within a specific data center, for example, or within a specific cluster, right? And then you have to then send data, out, from behind those private walls, safe walls, through the dangerous internet to another walled garden, another safe, enclosure, right, through a centralized setup. So what's so amazing about Bacalhau, and what Lilypad leverages Bacalhau to do this, is you can run computations on untrusted hardware. And so the way that Lilypad works is, as a user, you have the CLI running, or you build an app on Lilypad that uses our API or something, and then the job gets sent to the network. The network will then choose a resource provider, a GPU, that has the right amount of compute capacity to process that job. And that matching happens, in like milliseconds, less, maybe even less. And so, yeah, so hopefully this answers your question. But basically, a single worker is given the job, and then that single worker runs the job. But what's so beautiful about it, and why like this was even something that needed to be created, versus Kubernetes, is now you can send these jobs. Once you've built the Lilypad module, of course, there's a way to build a Lilypad module. It's a Docker image. But once you have that, you can run it on the Lilypad network in a pretty trustless manner, as in, you can run it on any of the GPUs. Well, any of the GPUs that have enough compute capacity can run that job. And you're provided, a blockchain verification that the compute has run, which we're using the Arbitrum layer 2 network. And so that's where you get the actual compute gets, hashed, and then the output of the job is also saved on IPFS. And so yeah, I think, okay, cool, that answers your question. But yeah, no, we're really excited about this. I mean, this is a fundamental shift in how cloud compute jobs are orchestrated. Again, doing something on an untrusted network, the model for how you do that is different, but the benefits are incredible. And we're just now starting to really like study the latency improvements, the performance improvements. Of course, OpenAI needs open networks to run, and so this is all what Lilypad's all about. Anyway, very exciting stuff. Cool. I just want to really quick mention. So there's this Lilypad resource monitoring tool that Kabbalah Rasa made here on the right. That's a great way to set up like a I believe that is so there's a Telegram bot that Kabbalah made that basically will notify you of that your resource provider is down, and then they also made an auto restart program. So those are both linked there. And then the other one is this node check website, which is super awesome. You can check how many proof of works your node ran in any given day, and so that's actually been super helpful. Huge shout out as part of our troubleshooting for the rewards situation that's going on. Like I've actually been using that. We've got our own data at this point, but I was using that before. So huge shout out. Sweet. All right. I couldn't continue this without mentioning something very important, which is our Meme-a-thon. This is a competition that's going on through our Galaxy program. The link's down there. I can put it in the chat. This is very exciting. So, there's currently a $500 prize pool. Give us your best memes. Show us what you got. We internally, we like to make memes, but we also want the community to jump in. And so that's what that's all about. The quest ends on September 21st. I see a question here. When TGE? Yeah, good question. So our initial target was Q4 of 2024. In full transparency, our testnet has, as a testnet does, you learn a lot. You have to you realize what needs to be implemented that you didn't plan, or what new things come up that end up being a much better thing that you thought of, right? And so, we are noticing that the incentivized testnet is running at least this first stage where, we're incentivizing GPUs. The second stage will be incentivizing, module builders and other types of users, which is still to come. So we have noticed that this is taking longer than we expect, and so we'll be coming out with a roadmap pretty soon. I know Ali, the CEO of Lilypad, is working on that as we speak. So yeah, right now we are saying Q4 2024, but I do want to say that it's looking like it could be Q1 2025. But we'll be very transparent about that with the community very soon about what's going on and what you can expect. But not much changes in terms of that. Cool. Okay, I did want to mention this. I already mentioned it, but so we don't really need to get into it. But we are going to announce we're going to announce the open source contribution program, how that works, and that there'll be some rewards available. And then the first big thing we want to incentivize, of course, is the Windows RP. So, already has seen tons of contributions from that. And so there's already some people in the running to get rewards for this. But yeah, we really appreciate the community. And, like Logan said, we'll see if this is something that needs more support versus just like using the Lilypad Docker image that we also have coming out. We'll see what makes more sense to support. But anyway, that's that. Cool. So get involved. That's the main thing at Lilypad is, we're here for the community. And so get involved in the Discord, come ask questions, check out our website and socials. We write a lot of blogs. I do a weekly or fortnightly project report. So breaking down what's engineering up to, what's the updates on the incentive net, what's research doing, what's tokenomics doing, our white paper is being worked on as we speak, with the intention to come out, I believe, by the end of this quarter, if not early next quarter. So yeah, no, there's a lot going on. And so the best way to keep track of everything is check out that project report. And then, yeah, we've got the docs, and of course, there's a lot going on our GitHub. And of course, a lot going on our YouTube. All right. So let's see. I don't know if anyone else has any other questions, but if not, we were going to kind of just jump in a little bit into some of the latest stuff going on the engineering side of things. So Logan, we are now going to put you on the spotlight. I guess you mentioned the Docker image that you're working on. That's probably a good place to start. Or here, actually, we got a couple of questions first. So is Points on Lily getting it daily? Yes. Resource provider. So the leaderboard updates once per day. I believe it's 10. I believe it's just after midnight UTC, I believe. And so, yeah, so the leaderboard will update once a day, and you'll see that coming in. If you don't see that coming in, there is a form going around in the I Need Help channel. We did notice yesterday that there were some RPs that said they didn't get rewards when they should have. And so if you have been affected by that, please fill out that form, and we'll make sure that all that gets looked at. Let's see. As an AI company, which AI tools is Lilypad using during its development? Oh, that's a great question. Logan, I would love to hear your take too. I mean, yeah.
What AI tools aren't we using?
Yeah. I mean, I think, without sitting here and plugging specific companies and specific tools, I mean, I have to say Claude and ChatGPT have been awesome in terms of answering some questions, in terms of helping get some stuff done. But truthfully, our team
Most,
I wouldn't say we use those tools too much for coding,
yeah.
more for questions and other types of other types of questions of other types of natures. But yeah, well, Logan, do you have any other tools you would say
I
we
was
end up
gonna
using?
say, I was gonna say some of us use them for coding on occasion, as long as somebody else is at least looking at the code afterwards to at least proof over it. But no, maybe the question is also around like what AI tools instead of just like chat bots and generative stuff. We use like lately, the past couple of days I've been using a lot of, or in the past couple of months, we've been using a lot of Comfy UI to orchestrate some of our SDXL models. Comfy UI, I don't know if it's just a really awesome tool to, yeah, I don't know if people are familiar with Comfy UI, but I'm not an expert on it, but it's just a way to orchestrate different jobs running linearly within a pretty simple to use. I think it's based on JavaScript runtime, so super awesome. We use that for SDXL. We are probably going to use it to build more modules in Lilypad, so that's super fun. But what
Yeah.
other tools than Comfy UI? A lot of Jupyter notebooks for talking to servers. A lot of Jupyter notebooks for talking for creating models, modules, so to speak, as well.
Yeah. Just since the lucky people who did come and grace us with their presence today, they can hear there is some Jupyter Notebooks work going on in the back end, along the lines of our SaaS product that I mentioned. That we haven't, we're still working on it, right? But that's very, very exciting. Kind of a ML workbench type product. But actually, the other thing that we do is that we actually use our own network, right? So, we have Stable Diffusion, we have Stable Diffusion video running on Lilypad as modules. And so I use Stable Diffusion on the Lilypad network every time I do a project report. I use our product to generate an image that ends up being the cover image for the project report. So, there's a simple way that we actually use our product to create, some of the stuff we do. Let's see. Any idea about points and tokens ratio? So what we can say about that right now is the plan, or what we've said is that 10 to up to 15%, but somewhere around 10% of the Lilypad tokens will be allocated to Lilybit holders. So the majority of Lilybits will be held by resource providers, I believe around 60-70%, and then the remaining Lilybits will be given to open source contributors, ambassadors, incentivizing modules being built. That's all coming. And so any idea about the ratio? I would say, yeah, it's hard to say, to be honest. But again, somewhere between 10 and 15% of token supply, which is substantial. And especially given, kind of the circumstances of what these networks end up looking like, it could end up being a large amount of capital. So yeah, we're super excited to do that. It's core to how we think about things is all about community.
Babysitting GPUs.
Yes.
And
Yep.
not necessarily babysitting either. Wrangling, I would say.
Wrangling. Yeah. Yeah.
Roping.
Exactly. Yeah. So Logan, yeah, again, not to put you on the spot here, but my understanding is that the Docker RP is kind of like the stepping stone to get to the multi GPU type stuff where you can run, multiple GPUs on one motherboard. Is that correct? Is that the right way to think about it?
It's for like getting multiple things done using, Docker is, the best to spin up and to start up an environment on the fly without a worry about, is this x60, is this for Linux, is this for, an ARM Mac, because pretty soon we want to be working with like many different types of GPUs, not just necessarily a Linux box with the NVIDIA GPU, but to escape the runtimes, it's incredibly useful. And so that's the usefulness in Docker. So being able to have an image and then to say, okay, I want to run this image using this graphics card, GPU 0, if you only have one graphics card, that's beautiful. If you have multiple graphics cards, being able to say, I want this Docker image to run on GPU 0, I want this Docker image to run on GPU 1, so on and so forth. Super useful. It's a lot of work to be able to get one Docker image to do multiple GPUs. Like, probably a lot of people are like, oh, when is that coming? And hopefully soon. but yeah, to be able to just orchestrate a lightweight image just for each GPU using Docker, using some simple commands is definitely what we're looking at. Hopefully, in a week or so. Don't want to
Yeah.
don't want to do it too early. Trying to
Yeah. Yeah.
mediate.
No, 100%, 100% expectations for sure. Um, yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah, it's good.
it's a long time coming. Definitely needed. Super super useful. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And even like some of the enterprise partners that we're talking with, like the Docker setup is also like extremely important for them too.
Big shout out to Titan Network or TitanNet in for helping us out with this Docker image. They're in our Discord. They're
Yeah.
a part of our partners, but they're the ones who put this Docker image together. It's incredibly useful. Thank you so much from them. Like
Yeah.
I haven't changed the Docker image at all. I think a bunch of people on the team have been using it. So
Yeah,
thank you guys.
for sure. Okay, let's see. I see. Oh, you have 63090s on one worker as well. You must have a nice big motherboard there and a nice big CPU. That's exciting.
Wow.
Logan and I used to have Ethereum miners with like 5 or 6 1080 Ti's on one motherboard, and that was funky. That was not easy to do. So if you got 63090s, that's awesome.
I wonder if they're on one motherboard. Maybe it's like
That's what he said.
3090s
That's what Eddie is saying. 63090s on
on
one worker.
one worker. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, there we
yeah,
go.
that's a
So,
big.
Eddie IO or EDI IO, how are you connecting that volume of cards to, oh, there we go. There, I
Okay.
was, what motherboard are we using? And there we go. Thank you. That's a very nice motherboard.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I think that's an AMD Threadripper or something. I don't know. An AMD something. Love it. Thank you. I love to have these. Love to have these types of people in the chat here.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's really exciting. And AMD Threadripper 5950. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Big boy CPU. Very
lovely.
fun. Very fun. Don't give Logan any ideas. He's gonna be like, okay, now I need one of those too.
Man.
Okay. Let's see. Someone said I took a look at your repos. I saw the continuous development pipelines. Yeah, thank you. I have to give a huge shout out to our engineering team, specifically Brian and a few others. We're trying to automate as much as possible, of course, and our release pipeline has been kind of sporadic. We actually, have the community's probably noticed that there's been a lot of releases, a lot of, either updates, fixes, or even things that like we just need to add to the code that don't even affect RPs. So what we've actually decided now is we're going to do releases in a much more steady flow. And so around, I believe every 2 weeks, we're going to kind of let the, the additions build up and then release. And we're hoping that will be like a more stable situation for RPs, to keep their stuff updated. It also gives DevRel some time to be able to communicate what the updates are and how important it is to RPs and if there's anything to think about. So no, it's been a good process to figure out what are the right things to automate and then what are the right things to kind of just have a good owner of that. And the DevRel team has been working like really closely with Logan and the engineering team to figure out the right balance there. We don't want to distract away from the hard work that's being done. But at the same time, there's certain, information and there's certain flows that need to kind of get to the team. And so, yeah, we're figuring out the right balance. And so anyway, we appreciate that. There is a question here. Where are you guys from? If it's not too personal. We're both from the US. Logan and I, we both live in Austin. Logan, I'll let you answer, but I was born in Raleigh, but I lived all over the world. And so I actually met Logan 10 years ago in Bahrain. We were there in high school. His parents lived there and we're working there. Same with mine. So we've kind of lived all over the place. Logan, if you want to answer.
Yeah, from the Midwest, I'm like just a Missouri boy at heart and just moved around a lot of my life. So yeah.
So we have I feel like that's part of the reason that we were attracted to crypto and to the Web3 world in general, right? Is, stringing together a cloud network using the power of the people from around the world is like the coolest thing I could think of, right? And so, having lived in different places and spending time with different cultures, it's like, what a cool way to connect people, right? And what a cool way to, to get shit done, right? So anyway, getting back.
By the way, I think Eddie, I think you are amazing. Okay, thank you for your compliment. I also do believe that you are amazing. So thank you for joining us. Um,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
love it,
Like we
love
said,
it.
we're here for the
But yeah,
community.
what are borders? What are borders?
I
Good
mean, we're
question.
just beings of Earth at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
And so if
At
you
this
and then
point,
you apply some blockchain cryptography and some Bacalao peer-to-peer networking, and all of a sudden, you know, what even is what even is the border? Like you said, all of a sudden we're just one big network. Cool. Okay, what else? What else would be good to talk about in terms of engineering updates? I mean, we have kind of given a rundown of the rewards program is being looked at and worked on. Open source. We will be making that open source community announcement hopefully today. I'm just working on adding some of those issue templates and stuff to the actual Lilypad GitHub repo. So I have a PR open there. What do you
I
think,
think
Logan? Is there any other notable
I
kind of
think
work
yeah,
apart from the usual?
it'd probably be a little useful to talk about um, a recent update to the Lilypad repo, the Lilypad binary. We've added our awesome engineer, Brian, has added a large amount of telemetry to help us be able to figure out where jobs are possibly having hiccups. We have a pretty large network that runs GPU jobs, and as of right now, it can be a little bumpy getting the jobs to fully run through and conclude or finish. And so we've added a lot of telemetry to help us figure out where those bumps are. So, possibly as a resource provider, you will see this telemetry in a few ways, possibly like if you're looking at, outbound requests. And so just so like we're clear, this is
Yeah, sorry, Logan. I'll just jump in real quick. So that PR has not actually been pushed yet. Just to let everyone know. So that is coming though. So yeah, I have a whole telemetry. We have a sort of a data collection summary of what we're gonna put that out with our sort of like telemetry announcement. So anyway, yeah, but it's good you brought
love
it
it.
up. It's super
Love it.
important, like for us to be able to actually see the life cycle of a job go through. We won't be pulling the output of the job, so we won't know like what all runs from that computation. But yeah, we'll be able to see when the job gets sent to the network, when it gets matched, when it gets accepted, and does it fail at any point through that process. And then that'll help us sort of backtrack, like, okay, is this a specific resource provider configuration problem, or is this like a much bigger network wide problem? And so yeah, anyway, so yeah, we keep an eye out for all that announcements coming. Probably, I don't know if that PR actually will get merged this week, but yeah, either this week or early next week, and we'll put out an announcement about that. But yeah, that's really exciting because we need to be able to really like troubleshoot things in a much more granular way, and so that's helpful. Um, what kind of tools are you using for monitoring?
I love it. I love it.
Whole list, right? I don't know
Yeah.
where you want to
So
start.
yeah, just like road brecht. Yeah, we're using like the standard stack. Just I believe we're using either Prometheus or just Grafana to be the UI to help us organize all of this data coming through. Other than that, I'm not too sure, but pretty like generic, simple stuff.
Yeah,
Golang stuff.
yeah.
Good question. Great question. A bunch of Grafana, a bunch of Prometheus.
Yeah, yeah, and of course we like cross-reference that with information that we get from our servers and logs and stuff, right? Um, but
Definitely.
this telemetry specifically is looking at like the life cycle of a job. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, Prometheus, Grafana, low-key best.
One of us. One of
Yes,
us.
yes. Okay, we got a question. When jobs will be implemented, would idle time be rewarded for the GPUs? Yeah, that's a really good question. So as of now on the incentivized testnet, right, the way that it works is the resource provider is asked to run a proof of work. Um, I believe it's in every hour or so. There's probably some variability there, as we've all seen. But anyway, so you're asked to run a proof of work. When that proof of work runs, the resource provider is tasked. It cannot run. My understanding is that it cannot run a job at the same time. So that's the proofing mechanism that we are rewarding for at this exact moment. And then, of course, once that proof of work runs, then the resource provider is available to run just a normal job, right? Like whatever, some module. So, and in that scenario, then once you do run the module, like, of course, the intention is that you're getting paid as a compute provider to run that compute, right? So, GTM, to answer your question, I think the details of this are being sorted out right now in the white paper. We're working with Crypto Econ Lab, and then our head of, tokenomics is spearheading that internally. So the exact details are not 100% finalized, but my understanding, what I know now, is we need to run some kind of computation to verify that the RP is up, online, available, and running jobs. And so when we transition to mainnet, my understanding is that the plan is to change the proof of work mechanism to be an actual job. And so, which would also kind of solve some of the issues that we're facing right now with the proof of work. So anyway, I'll probably leave it there because there's still a lot of stuff to be kind of figured on the actual details of that. But yes, basically right now on the incentivized testnet, yes, you are rewarded for idle time, right? Because your GPU is sitting there, you run a proof of work, or you run all the proof of works for the day, you get rewarded. Right now, you could run one job, or like apart from that, you could run 100 jobs. I don't really think you get compensated more if you run 100 jobs. But of course, that's because we're in testnet, right? And so on mainnet, um, that's obviously the intention is, if you run 100 jobs, you're going to get paid a lot more than if you run just one job. And so you can think of it kind of like Filecoin. I think my understanding is that our intention is to do similar kind of things, right? So Filecoin has committed capacity, which is just idle storage, just sitting there ready to go, and then you get paid by the customer for actual, if they're actually storing data on that idle capacity. So hopefully that answers your question. I know it's a little bit of a long answer, but that's kind of how we're thinking about it. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Telemetry, Windows, open source. Yeah, I feel like we pretty much got through a lot of the latest stuff going on. There's a lot going on, and we're still a relatively small team, So I think we're getting a lot done for the size of the team, and the scale of the network. The network grew really quickly, and we can't be more excited about that. And so, just making sure everyone's happy. The DevRel team is putting out much more content over the next weeks, and so we got more video guides coming. We're doing a lot more writing. But of course, like right now, we're spending a lot of time kind of helping troubleshoot and triage issues. So, we've set up a pretty good process to like bring issues from the front lines to the engineers. Part of the issue with that is like whatever we bring ends up distracting that ex-engineer from whatever they were working on, which for all the resource providers is probably something really important, right? Like we want that engineer to finish that task. And so it's just a balancing act between, oh shit, like we got some really, really, really urgent thing right now versus a much bigger push that would end up solving probably a lot of the problems to begin with. And so anyway, thanks for the patience from the community. We're really like figuring out the right balance between all that. But yeah, no, cool. Again, like participate in the meme contest, jump into the Discord. We will be onboarding more ambassadors. We don't have an exact day for that, but we're thinking something like once a month. The current ambassadors can also help contribute to picking who those next ambassadors would be. We do ask, to uphold our values, uphold our vision, uphold our kind of quality. We ask, just maintain positivity, right? We're all here to help. No one, like there's no intention here for like screwing people over. Like it's also a test net, right? And so we know it's going to be some bumps along the way. But yeah, like really help us, create a really awesome culture. And then we intend on rewarding that. So yeah, keep that up. Cool. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I think we are good to go. I think this was a super productive sesh.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for everybody who showed up.
Yeah.
Big help. Our ambassadors are honestly the best.
Oh yeah.
Everyone, you all are all great.
Yeah, so Logan and I are also ambassadors for Filecoin. We lead the Filecoin Orbit North America group, and so we're sort of taking what we've learned from that and sort of modeling it in the Lilypad world. It's obviously a much smaller program right now, but I think the intention is to sort of have like geographic groups right around the world. There's a pretty strong Chinese community that's starting to grow. I think the US EU community is starting to grow. And so we're actually in talks with the Filecoin Kenya group to join our next AMA. Hopefully we'll get them on either the next one next week or the week after. So yeah, we'll invite anyone here or any of the Lilypad ambassadors that want to jump on to the AMA. And, if you want to talk, if you want to share something you built, whatever, we can get you on here. Even like in an anon format, like no stress at all. You don't have to turn your camera on or anything. So yeah, we will send some messages about that. But otherwise, everybody have a great day, night, morning, evening, whatever. Let's see, we have another question.
Definitely nice to see you for the first time, GT Media. Thank you for joining us, for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
You guys
nice.
are rock stars.
Oh yeah. So decentralized files is like already covered by your experience. Yeah. So Logan and I actually built a startup called Lato, which is an IPFS analytics tooling, basically like web analytics for IPFS for websites and apps and NFTs hosted on IPFS. So yeah, we were really, really close with the Protocol Labs group. Ali and Lilypad spun out of Protocol Labs, and so we've known Ali for years, and the CEO of Lilypad, and so yeah, we are like very close with the Filecoin community, and have taken a lot of lessons from people like Juan Bennett and Molly McKinley and David Aronchik, who led the Compute Over Data group. Like, we are learning here from the best and emulating the best. And to be honest with you, like the answer I gave about Kubernetes versus Bacalhau, like I just literally repeated what Juan Bennett said in a video about why they created this, right? So yeah, we know them really well, and we try to emulate the best of what they do. And so yeah, and of course, decentralized storage, centralized or verifiable storage and verifiable data is essential for what we're doing with Lilypad, right? If you're running an AI model, it needs to be verified. If you're fine-tuning a model, you need the data that's going into that fine-tuning to be verifiable. And so, yeah, our IPFS implementation right now is pretty bare bones and pretty not performant, I'll say, just to be nice, but it doesn't work very well in terms of hosting the output of a job. But yeah, we're talking to like Basin, Storacha, all the teams that are in the Filecoin IPFS world to figure out the right mechanism for the hosting that data, because there's a cost associated with that. And so right now, what we've suggested to users is to just kind of set up your own IPFS pinning, use Filebase, Pinata, Storacha, whatever. And then in our SaaS product, or in kind of like further pro versions of the Lilypad, kind of not the network, but probably like the SaaS product, we'll have, I think our intention is to have like multiple pinning providers available there. So as a user, you can say like, oh, I want to choose Lighthouse, or I want to choose Pinata, or whatever. I think that's probably what's going to happen. But right now, we've left it open to the community to make those implementations happen. Again, we're focused on the incentive net and much bigger fish to fry at this point. So anyway, that's coming though. Cool. All right, everybody. Well, have a great one. We will be seeing you. So next week, we have another AMA as usual. This one will be at, I believe, 9 p.m. EST. And so that's a good time for our friends in Asia and on the other side of the planet. And then Logan and I will be back, not next week, the week after, same time, for the next one. So find a time that works for you. Let me know too if you want to jump on and say anything or show us anything you've built, but with Lilypad. But yeah, thanks so much. Bye.
Cheers.